Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're in my sketchbook. I have a 100 heads video and I'll be talking through my process and hopefully it will help you guys get better at portraits. It's a highly requested video, so I really hope it's helpful. So today we're going to be using a mechanical pencil, a ballpoint pen, and a kneaded eraser and a regular rubber eraser. First, I'm going to explain the challenge. So basically, this challenge was started by an artist on YouTube, I think, and he's got a Pinterest board of 100 portraits, and you're supposed to draw all 100 of them in 10 days. Obviously, I haven't done that. It's been about 2 months since I started, so I'm taking it slow, but I think that's okay. I've slowed down the initial face shape sketching so that you guys can see what I'm doing, so I hope that is helpful to you. I start with the general face shape, and this is basically kind of like an oval-y shape with a point at the bottom, and then I'll draw a circle for the top of the head, and then I'll draw a center line down the middle to represent the center of the face, and then I'll draw a horizontal line perpendicular to the vertical line, and that represents the center of the face shape and also where the eyes are supposed to go. The eyes are always in the center of the face, which might not be obvious at first, but once you draw in the hairline, it makes it really obvious that a lot of the head is actually taken up by the hair. I hope that made sense. It's kind of hard to explain. And when I start shading, I basically try to make my strokes in the direction of the structure of the face. So for example, for the right cheekbone, it slopes downward and to the left. So when I do my shading strokes, I try to make them downward and to the left. And this basically helps define the shape of the face structures, especially when you're drawing so small and it's hard to put a lot of detail in. For me, that extra direction of the stroke helps with making the face look more realistic. And now we're starting a face and profile. I use the same steps for a profile that I do for a regular front-facing person. So I'll start with a large oval for the top of the head, and then for a profile, the bottom half of the shape is kind of a rounded triangle. And that flat part on the left is basically the line that guides where the features of the face jut out from. And then for the profile, I do the same thing where the middle line of the face is where the eyes go, and then there's one line above that represents the eyebrows, one line below for the bottom of the nose, and then one line below that for the mouth. And I don't usually strictly follow these lines because every face is different and the proportions of features are always different, but I like to just have them there as a guide, and I'll move around the features once I actually draw them in. For the nose, I'll start with a small circle to represent the tip of the nose and then draw the shape around it. The nose is the hardest feature to draw for me, so I usually start with that, and drawing the nose first also helps me center the rest of the features. You may have also seen before that I'll use the kneaded eraser and just kind of roll it over the pencil sketch to lighten up the lines. You could do this with a rubber eraser just by dabbing, but the kneaded eraser is really handy for trying to gently erase big spaces. And you can change the shape of it depending on how detailed you want to be erasing. I actually find profiles the hardest to do. I'm not really sure why, but I think it's just because the features stick out of the face instead of being a part of the face, if that makes sense. So it's something that I actually do need practice on, and I'm glad that the reference list actually has such a diverse set of positions for faces. So here is a front-facing head, but the head is tilted a little bit, so I just tilt the oval for the head, and also I tilt the vertical line that goes through the center of the head. The horizontal lines stay exactly the same as when you're doing a regular straight front-facing portrait. My main goal for this challenge was to get more confident in drawing faces. Some artists say they want to experiment with different mediums, but I really just wanted to focus on getting the basics with regular pen and pencil. Towards the end, maybe I'll experiment with other mediums, but I don't think I'm ready for that yet. When I first started drawing faces, I would draw the shape of the faces way too big, and the features just wouldn't be proportional to the size of the face, so I'd have to go back and change the shape of the face a lot, but now I think I'm a little bit better. I'm definitely not perfect. After I sketch in the features, sometimes I'll have to go back and change the shape of the face, but it's definitely not as extreme as it was before. Here's a portrait that's turned 3/4 away, and the setup for this is pretty much the same as the setup for a front-facing portrait. You always want to keep the vertical line aligned with wherever the nose is, so I just shift the line left or right based on whichever direction the person is facing. I also get questions about how I stay consistent in this challenge, and I just want to say that I definitely have not been consistent. The original challenge is to draw 100 heads in 10 days, which means you have to draw 10 heads every day, and that's just not something that I'm going to put myself through. It took me a few hours to draw these 8, and also I just have trouble fitting 10 heads into these 2 pages. So I just do 8 heads every time, and sometimes I'll just do 1 head but make it a larger study so that I can try out doing different types of shading and more detail. If you're telling yourself that you don't want to start this challenge because you're not going to be consistent or you don't think you can finish in 10 days, just don't worry about the time deadline and just focus on what your goals are. And if this challenge will get you to your goal, just start it. It doesn't matter how long it takes to finish, but as long as you try, you will be helping yourself and you will be developing your skills. I also get questions about how to get proportions right in the portraits, and for most of the face I kind of just eyeball it because I'm not super worried about getting it to look exactly like the reference. I just want it to look similar enough, and I also just want the face to look like a person's face. But for certain things like placement of the eyes and the shape of the mouth, I'll do measurements with my pencil and just see where things are aligned. For example, I might look at a reference and see that the inner corner of the eye is aligned with the outside of the nose, and so that helps me not make the eyes too far apart or too close. Also, using the pencil is really helpful for getting angles right. To measure angles, I'll hold up a pen or a pencil to the reference. When I hold up the pen, I'll realize that a line is more or less angled than I originally thought it was. Or you might notice that the top of the ear is aligned with the eyes and the bottom of the ear is aligned with the bottom of the nose. I also want to point out that at some points you might see me changing the grip on my pencil that I'm using. In the beginning, when I'm doing the general sketch, my hand is more towards the back end of the pencil and I hold it a lot looser. Having a loose grip makes it easier to do larger, broader strokes, and I find that this works really well for general sketches. And then when I go in to do the smaller details like the shape of the eyes and the actual shading, I'll grip the pencil more towards the point and hold it a little bit tighter. But in general, you don't want to hold it too tight because then your strokes will be really tight and you won't get the effect that you want. Now we're starting the two gargoyle-like old men. These are the first that I've encountered in the reference list, and I was kind of dreading getting to the first few. And by the time I got to this reference, my hand was cramping and I was just tired. But I had to draw these men with all these wrinkles. They're just not things that I normally draw, so I just powered through. For the initial sketch, I tried to do the face shapes and everything, but my normal processes weren't working so well since the faces were so disproportionate compared to the previous ones. I tend to stick to drawing younger women who don't really have any wrinkles, and if I hadn't done this challenge, I would never choose to draw a wrinkly old man that looks a little bit like a potato. But I'm really glad that this challenge has pushed me because it's just really great practice to draw things that you don't normally draw. If you're debating whether or not you want to start this challenge, I would highly recommend just starting it, especially if you're a beginner, because this will really just help jumpstart your practice. As I said before, the reference list is extremely diverse in terms of ethnicity, gender, and also the style of the reference. I've only drawn 30 of the heads, but I really do think that I'm becoming more confident and a little bit more efficient in the way that I draw faces. I kind of have a process now, whereas before I started, I just winged it and hoped for the best. As I continue with this challenge, I'm expecting to see a lot more of these old men and some goblin-looking statues, and I'm a little scared but also kind of excited. It's actually pretty fun to draw these wrinkles and get those dark shadows. I think I'm just going to miss drawing smooth, unwrinkled young faces after a while. I've been having a lot of fun with this challenge and I'm really excited to continue. I'm still early on, not even halfway, and I am already seeing a lot of improvement, so I'm really hopeful for my progress at the end. I'm also really happy that you guys are joining me on this journey of portrait drawing discovery. It's been a lot of fun sharing my posts with you on Instagram, and I hope this also inspires you guys to start the challenge as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you got some helpful tips. If you want to see more videos like this, please let me know in the comments down below. And also, if you want to see the full spreads, follow me on Instagram where I post all my artwork. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.